Hey everyone, welcome to Crime Weekly News. I'm Derek Levasseur,
And I'm Stephanie Harlow.
and we're going to get right into it tonight. This is more of a call to action. We're really passionate about unsolved cases. You guys know I do Detective Perspective every week, and there's a lot of cases out there, not like Gypsy Rose, not like the Menendez brothers, actual cases just like those, but that who involve people who you may not have heard of, but are looking for justice, are looking for help, just like everyone else. And this is one of those instances. So, in this particular case, investigators are asking for help in solving a vicious murder that was initially reported as a bear attack. So the person who found the victim sees the victim and thinks, "Oh my god, this person was attacked by a bear." They call 911
Because
and
it was so
invest
brutal and so bloody that they assumed, because they were camping. This person was camping, by the
That's
way.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. And so they thought, "Oh my god, must have been a bear attack," and that was not the case. And Stephanie's going to fill us in right now.
So the victim is 35-year-old Dustin Kjersem. He was last heard from on October 10th as he was leaving to go camping for the weekend. He was going camping in Montana. It's a very remote area in Montana, in the mountains, and his friend actually found him the following Saturday on October 12th, dead in his tent. And like I said, and like Derek had said, the way that this man's body was, he was so brutalized that they assumed it was a bear attack. So, wildlife and parks agents with expertise in bear attacks didn't find any sign of bear activity at the scene. This prompted the police to begin, investigating what did happen, according to the sheriff's office. And the sheriff's department has said in a statement, quote, "This incident was a vicious attack and detectives are working hard to develop and track down leads. A suspect has not been arrested at this time," end quote. At this time, as we record this, no one has been apprehended for this. But this is very terrifying, right? Somebody goes out into the woods to camp, and this is the Moose Creek area in Gallatin Canyon in Montana. And also understand, the person we're talking about, Dustin Kjersem, he was an avid camper. He was a construction worker. He always worked with his hands. He was very outdoorsy, and he just goes and he's in his tent, and he literally gets attacked. And you're starting to ask yourself, who could have possibly done this, right? Was it somebody he knew? That's not likely, because how would somebody he knew track him down? So now you're thinking there's somebody out in the mountains wandering around just killing random people in their tents. And even the Sheriff Dan Springer from Gallatin County, he said people have been asking him if there's a threat to the community. And he said the answer is, we don't know. We don't
Mhm.
have enough
That's the
information.
right answer, by the
Yeah.
way.
Well, of course, I would say there was potentially a
Not
threat.
all law enforcement. We know that they don't all do that.
Yeah. And he says multiple leads are being investigated, but apparently Dustin Kjersem, he drove to a makeshift campground in Moose Creek to spend the weekend with a friend. Now, this area is just north of Big Sky. It's fairly remote, but it's typically busy with hunters and campers. So it's remote to like you and me,
Yeah.
but to the people who are just regularly going out there, it's beautiful. There's good fishing. A lot of people go out there to camp and hunt. And so that there's other people out there, but they say that Dustin Kjersem would usually set up a wall tent roughly 8 by 10 feet, and he would stock it with all the essentials. The investigative captain, Nathan Karaman, said that he was well prepared for a weekend of camping, and he had plans to meet with a friend on Friday afternoon, but he never made that meeting. So he goes out there Thursday, he gets his camp all set up. He's supposed to meet his friend at a predetermined location, bring him back to the tent, never made it there. That friend, who at this point hasn't been identified, went looking for Dustin and found his body around 10 a.m. local time on Saturday. Now, the sheriff's office said in its initial statement that the caller indicated the death may have been caused by a bear attack. Now they know that's not true,
Mm.
and evidence gathered through an autopsy further indicated that this is a homicide. The autopsy showed that Dustin Kjersem sustained multiple chop wounds from an axe that led to his death. So there's an axe murderer wandering the
Literally.
mountains in Montana, literally. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And so last week, the sheriff's office asked the public to be on the lookout for a number of items that are believed to have been removed from the scene of the crime: an Estwing camp axe, lightly with a 26-inch handle, a Remington shotgun, a Ruger Blackhawk revolver, and an Orange Yeti brand cooler. I believe that what this person is saying is these items were Dustin's, and they were used in some capacity in his murder and then removed from the scene. And anybody who has information about these items or about the case at all should contact the sheriff's office by phone or email. People are obviously the family of Dustin. He had a young daughter. He was only 35 years old, but he had a young daughter, and they're asking for people to come forward with any information that might be of help. The sheriff said, quote, "Think of this as a large jigsaw puzzle. It might be that little piece that puts this together for us,"
Mm.
end quote. They have shared a photo of Dustin Kjersem's black 2013 Ford F-150, so they're asking anyone who may have seen him or his truck out in the mountains to come forward. They're also urging anyone who is in the area of Moose Creek or Gallatin Canyon between Thursday afternoon and Saturday morning to reach out with information. So this is going to be like, did you see Dustin, right? Also, did you see somebody maybe with Dustin or following Dustin or somebody in the general area of where Dustin had, pitched his tent? And it's crazy because Dustin's sister, Jillian Price, there was a press conference and she said, quote, "There is someone in our valley that is capable of truly heinous things. Please, if you're in Moose Creek at any time from Thursday to Saturday, please call and talk, even if you think you didn't see anything," end quote. So, not only did Dustin have a young daughter, but he had a stepson, and he was an amazing father. He was a hardworking, skilled tradesman. His sister said that he could have framed your house, he could have poured your foundation, could have installed your countertops. He was a loving, helpful, and adoring father who in no way deserved this. Dustin has loved fishing and camping since a young age. I mean, he was born in Bozeman, Montana, so that makes sense. That's a very outdoorsy place. There's pretty much nothing else to do in in Montana besides go outside and enjoy the beautiful scenery. But yeah, this is crazy because at this point they really don't know anything because Dustin was out in the middle of nowhere, a very, very remote area.
Yeah, there's so much to unpack here. So, first off, I want to talk about how do we solve this case? And we're going to do that in a couple minutes. But first off, just to kind of unpack what you've explained to everyone, the first thing you got to do is figure out, or at least come to a few theories as far as, was this personal in the sense where he knew this person prior to this incident, or was this a random attack by someone who he may have only encountered moments or even like a day before? What do I mean by that? Well, we know that some hunters, especially when it comes to their certain areas that they like fishermen. You remember my thing? I fish all the time.
Fish all the time.
Even fishing, there are fishermen who are like territorial about their spots, right? And I'm doing air quotes because it's not their spot, but there are times where they don't like other fishermen to come in and disturb the waters that they like to kind of go and find their fish because it screws up what they got going on, their methodology. And some hunters, especially if they're killing their animals and eating them, right? So they rely on this stuff and they can become very upset when someone encroaches on their territory, right? And so we
Upset
have
like that?
well, that's the thing, right? This is obviously a disturbed individual. This is not someone who's operating under a normal set of standards. So that's something we have to figure out. You have to develop that profile. And the first thing you would want to do is look into the historical data that you can find behind Dustin. Did he have any enemies? Did he have anything going on in his life? Or is there anyone out there who would have wanted to hurt him and would have known that he was going to be out in those woods where he potentially would be and maybe use this as an opportunity to seek revenge or carry out a plot because of some other motive that you and I are unaware of at this point?
And that's kind of what I was going over in my head too. And I actually have not a theory, but I have something I want to present to you. But let's take a quick break and then we'll talk about it.
Let's do it.
When I look through my bills and I wonder which ones are the highest, it's usually, in the top three, my cell phone bill. And I've been getting a little tired of paying so much when I know there's other options. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. And there has to be no hoops, no BS, really quick. So, wanting to try something different, but trying to change something as important as your cell phone, that was difficult. When Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. And it turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process is going to be the time you spend on hold with your current carrier trying to end your service with them. So if you want to get started with Mint Mobile, all you have to do is go to mintmobile.com/crimeweekly. And there you'll see that right now, all 3-month plans are only $15 a month. And that includes their unlimited plans. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan, and you can bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. And you can also find out how easy it is to switch to Mint Mobile and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. Derek's going to tell you how.
Yeah, I've said it before. There's a few big players in this space, not going to name them, but they've kind of monopolized the market. And I think we can all agree your prices per month on these wireless plans just keeps going up and up. So this is the counter to that. This is for people to get back down to earth and get a reasonable plan that allows you to do what you're supposed to be doing on your phone, check the internet, make phone calls, text messages, etc. So, to get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/crimeweekly. That's mintmobile.com/crimeweekly. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/crimeweekly. $45 upfront payment required, which is equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on the first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on the unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. Okay, we're back. Hit me with this theory.
Okay, so obviously, right, there's only one of two options. It's somebody he knew from home who was aware that he was going to be camping and would also have to be aware of where he usually chose
What's his spots?
to
Yeah,
go
where he would
camping.
end
What's
up.
his spots? Or maybe they had his cell phone location. That's
Yeah.
possible too, and they could
Or he
follow
could have
that.
had some other type of GPS technology that we're unaware of. Sometimes the guys use the Garmin's and stuff. It's not necessarily their cell phone data.
Because you don't get super good cell phone service up there in the mountains all the time. So a lot of these campers and fishers and hunters do have backups for something like that.
That go off satellites. Yes.
Satellite, exactly. So that could be an option. Somebody tracked him there who knew he was going to be there, found his exact location. On the other hand, it could be a complete stranger. But then you have to ask, what's the motive? As far as we can tell, not many things were taken, like a Yeti cooler and a gun and an axe, which it appears he was killed with this axe.
2 guns, right? A shotgun and
a rifle, right? A
or whatever the
handgun?
other one
Yeah.
was. But you said 2 guns.
So, but I'm thinking of the friend, okay?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not accusing this friend,
They're going to be on the list.
but they're
for
going to
sure.
be on the list and they're going to be at the top of the list, right? If this is not a stranger, this friend's going to be at the top of the list. And why? Well, because he definitely knew that Dustin was supposed to be there. They were supposed to meet Friday. Dustin never met him on Friday. He doesn't find him till Saturday morning. And it appears, he knew where to go to eventually find his tent. So why did it take so long when he didn't meet you on Friday? Why did it take so long for you to find his tent on Saturday? Were you just wandering the mountains looking for his tent, and you would just happen to come upon it and it took you that long? Or what's the deal there? Maybe you did know exactly where he was located. And if that was the police, I would want to know, did these two people, Dustin and his friend, have some sort of issue? Had they had a dispute? Had they had an argument? Did somebody owe somebody money? Did somebody start talking to somebody's girlfriend? Something like that. What was the issue?
I literally just watched a video where 2 friends were playing a football game on an Xbox. Over the Xbox game, they got up and started fist fighting, and the other guy pulled a gun and shot his friend. So, to your point, there could have been something out there where there was no previous issues, but they're arguing, maybe having a drink or 2 by the fire, and something said, and it could have happened just from that. To just kind of add to the point you're making right now.
Well, and I mean, that's the obvious thing, right? You were supposed to meet him on Friday. You didn't find him till Saturday. Were you actually with him on Friday? Something happened, and then you found him on Saturday. That's really kind of going to be at the top of my list. And then, other than that, yes, some strange person walking by, maybe somebody who's not mentally well, maybe somebody who's struggling with a drug or alcohol addiction, somebody who has problems and maybe they're kind of like living in the mountains kind of thing. And like you said, they see this tent and they're like, this is my area, this is my home, what are you doing here? And they take him out. But that does seem less likely than somebody who knows him, who might have a motive or might have a reason to get that angry. Because from what it sounds like, this wasn't just a quick, one chop. It was pretty violent. It was pretty brutal. That comes from a place of anger. And would a stranger who had just encountered him have that level of anger to commit a crime like this if they were mentally stable? So we're either talking about a mentally unstable mountain man who's just, or like a yeti or something, or we're talking about somebody who knew him, who had an axe to grind with him.
So I think both scenarios are at play here. The good news for the investigation is, as you said, at minimum, the friend is going to be a person of interest, even if it's just for the information they
That's why
can
he hasn't been
provide.
identified, I think,
Yeah,
by the way.
they're going to be a person of interest. It's just the way it works, and there's a real possibility he wasn't involved. But they're going to treat him just like they're going to treat everyone else. They're going to vet his story, his where he was, his alibi, and also forensically, because of the times we're living in now, they're going to ask him if he was at that campsite at all that day before this walking up on it,
They're gonna do
what he
DNA
touched,
tests,
what he
yeah,
didn't
check his
touch,
cell phone.
and think exactly. So they're going to be able to go there and corroborate his story based on technology. So first off, his coordinates. How long was he at that campsite? Prior to making that phone call, they're going to be able to look at footprint impressions around the campsite to see if his boot print was in other areas of that campsite where he stated that he did not go. They're going to probably swab some things to see if his DNA is inside the tent at all as well. So there's some things they can do to verify his story as far as how much, like they'll say, yeah, we know you opened the tent. What did you touch? You touched the screen door. You opened it up. Did you go inside? They're going to ask these questions. Now, to counter that, if he knows what he did, he can give excuses for why his DNA would be certain places. That's up to detectives to kind of facilitate that and figure out what's fact from fiction.
And also, I think they're gonna check his alibi, right? Because 'Cause I'm looking and I'm saying, "You were supposed to meet your friend Dustin on Friday. You didn't find him till Saturday morning. So what were you doing between the time you were supposed to
They're going
meet
to do all
him
that.
and the time you found him?" And if he's like, "Oh, I went to a gas station and I had breakfast at a diner," they're gonna go to that diner, and
Cameras and
they're gonna go to that gas station, and they're gonna verify his alibi.
But let's say he's not the guy for a second, right? Let's say there's someone out there, there's a lot of hunters out there, like you said. Where do we go from here? Well, what I would do is first and foremost, you want to find the cell phone tower that's in that area. I'm assuming there's not a ton, and there's going to be multiple cell phones and other devices that bounce off that tower during that time period to use that to make phone calls or to at least have service. Even if you're not using the phone's still going to grab that tower at certain points as you pass by it. So I would want to download all the cell phone tower data from that area at that time to see what devices you had in the area. You're going to get all those phone numbers. You're going to want to go through, create a suspect list. You're also going to want to look into other hunters that are in that area
And
and
don't you have to
see.
get, like, a am I wrong? Because I don't hunt.
You need a
Do you
license.
need a license?
Yeah,
And
there's going to be a
sometimes they get,
license.
like, a weekend license or you have a license for the season. So, I mean, if they don't get a lot of leads from the cell phone dump because they're, like I said, maybe not good service, then they might have to just pull the records and see who had applied for a license for that time or even that season.
You're going to want to do that. You're going to want to grab any licenses you can grab. You're going to want to talk to the local hunters. You're going to want to start to develop a list of all the individuals who were there that weekend. Once you have that list, you can run background checks on all of them. Do any of them have some history of violence? Were any of them in the military? Things like that. Things that may suggest one way or the other that they could potentially have an involvement. You want to go speak to
And
them.
not that you're saying everybody in the military
Of
has the
course not.
potential to be a
Listen,
murderer.
anybody who takes that, that's more on you than on me. I'm talking about in general. Listen, there are vets who come back and are going through things, and sometimes they can go back into a place where they think they're over in overseas again, fighting a war. So I'm not isolating them out. Everyone knows I'm pro-military. I love you guys. So nothing to say that. These are just the facts. But either way, you want to go and look up all of these hunters and develop a profile and a background on each and every one of them that you can confirm were there. You want to go and speak to them. You want to go corroborate their stories by speaking to family members and friends. If they say they came home at a certain time, were they actually there? When they came home, what was their behavior like? All of these things you're going to do. You're going to grab their DNA. You're also going to look for trail cams.
That's what I was just gonna say, trail cams. I was thinking there's probably a ton out there, right?
Yeah.
You'd
Yeah.
think.
You would think maybe they passed them, maybe they didn't. It's all stuff you have to at least cross off your list. These are things, it might just take one trail cam to get something right. And you can go to these hunters and ask them, hey, do you have any trail cams up there? Let's create a map. Let's start marking them off. Let's see what paths would be in and out of the area where Dustin was found. This is going to be an extensive, and this gets me excited actually just talking about it, but it's going to be a lot of work. But there's a lot of angles here that can be explored to potentially give you that piece of the puzzle that you mentioned. Because all you need is the one breadcrumb. If you find it, it's going to lead to another breadcrumb and then another breadcrumb. And then you find your person. And it's just as far as the specifics of the crime itself, which you had kind of mentioned. This is speculative on my part, but to me, the fact that it appears the murder weapon was in fact owned by Dustin.
They haven't said that for sure, but
That's what I'm pulling from it. This is
yeah.
me. If I'm wrong,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
own it.
I mean, I think I garnered the same.
So
Yeah.
my thing is the person who did this was at that campsite and grabbed an item that was already there. And so to me, it doesn't sound premeditated. It doesn't sound like somebody who followed him into the woods. It could still be the friend. That whole argument, something goes wrong while they're out there, is plausible. But it's also possible Dustin gets into a verbal disagreement with another hunter in the area. Dustin goes to sleep. This hunter follows him in. They grab something that would not be traced back to them, like their own firearm or their own weapon. They grab one of Dustin's weapons and they carry out the event in order to try to leave as little bit of a trail back to them as much as possible. So, a lot of things to explore here. It's a very unfortunate situation. It does sound like it was a passionate crime where this person had some actual issues with with Dustin,
It could have been
or
a road rage thing, like, Dustin could have accidentally cut somebody off, they could have
yeah,
followed him to his campsite,
yeah, that would
you know,
be for a
like
road rage, Jesus. But
but
yes,
I'm saying, I've seen people snap,
yeah,
you know,
that's
like,
all it can
people
take.
who are under enough pressure, who got an you know, who maybe aren't totally mentally stable, it doesn't take a lot, so that could have happened, but I think this goes to show you, you know, we associate crime with big cities and huge populations, but it sucks when you can't even go out into the mountains and have, you know, a peaceful weekend without
Yeah,
having to worry about somebody randomly attacking you. So, and
absolutely.
not a bear. And it's kind of like that whole thing that's been going around on TikTok and social media. Like, would you take the bear or the man? And women say they would take the bear because they feel safer with a bear in the woods than a man. Well, this kind of supports that.
It does. No, there's so much to do here. We could do an hour episode just on breaking this down. This is why I love Detective Perspective. Is like this is where we would just go through it all. Another scenario is this person approaches the campsite as a friendly, and they say, hey, I ran out of water or I ran out of food, and maybe we don't know yet, and we won't know because it's a relatively new case. Maybe Dustin sends a text message to a family member and says, oh, I'm here with this guy who needed help. We don't know yet. They wouldn't release that. So there's so much to unpack here, and most of it we don't even know because investigators are not going to share that with us. But we'll keep up to date on it, just like the North Carolina story. I have a feeling
Oh, there's going to be updates on this.
there's
Yeah.
going to be updates on this one. Something will happen. I'm trying to keep an optimistic mind about it. And for Dustin's friends and families, I really hope that's the case.
Yeah, our thoughts are with you. It's very this is obviously you don't ever want to lose a loved one, but to lose somebody like this and then to not know what happened, not know why, that's awful. So if anybody's in the area who's listening and you know something or you're familiar with the area or maybe you know where there's trail cams, anything, like Dustin's sister said, anything, even if you don't think you know anything, you could. So
Vehicles, any suspicious vehicles in that area, if you're a hunter or a fisherman in that area, license plates, anything you could have grabbed that maybe you caught on camera when you were filming something, any of it, reach out.
So, anybody with information, you can go ahead and call 406 582 2121, or you can email detectives@gallatin.mt.gov.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to do it for us, guys. As of right now, we're actually recording this one early. So as we speak right now, I am on a cruise ship hanging out with some of you guys. Hopefully not seasick. That's the plan. And if I am, Stephanie already knows about it because I'm texting her, bitching and complaining about it. But hope that's not the case. That's going to do it for us, guys. Everyone stay safe out there. And we will see you later this week with Gypsy Rose Part 6. Okay? We're going to be going over all the interrogation footage. We've been talking about it. We've been teasing it. Now it's time to get into it.
Time. Yep.
It's time. So audio on Friday, video on Sunday. We'll see you then. Have a good night.
Bye.